Throughout the year, both of these teams have managed to win a cup, but the thing is, against each other, but the thing is now we are going to see who is going to really win the matchup where it matters the most. Yes, Wildcard Gaming was able to win 2 back-to-back series, 0-7 last week, but in this next rematch, is that going to be the same case? Are they going to prove, if Wildcard wins this, they're the best team in the game. That's what I'm saying. I think that's fair. That's a fair thing to say. They've started to swing the meta into their favor quite a bit. We saw that Method Black had one of the hottest starts of the year. But Wildcard Gaming has come out and looked better and better and better each week. They had that 25-game win streak. One little blemish against that now.
I mean, it's still 10-1 between these two teams in their last 3 series. So still a lot of momentum in favor of Wildcard Gaming right now. Method Black, they really have to figure something out because what they're bringing isn't working. Now, I think the one game they did win was off the back of huge mistakes from Wildcard Gaming. So I'm not convinced that Roguelock Druid is even a good answer for them.
I agree with you. I feel like Zico, this is one of those things where it's somewhat of a fluke that they don't win that first game, and then you go a step further and you go, okay, well, they haven't lost a game in 25 games at that point. At that point, you're very likely to have a fluke at some point. Like, even being the best player, even being one of the best teams, when you're playing against another team that's on the same caliber, which both of these teams definitely are, that's why we're here again, a fluke's going to happen 1 in 25 games, I feel like, more so than not. I feel like that doesn't tip at all that they've slowed down.
I agree, and I agree with Van as well. It's what we've been saying. I felt this yesterday as well, that Windwalker DK has the edge in the matchup, but I do think that the matchup is fairly evenly matched. I don't think it's like a super hard counter, which is what I originally thought. Now I just think it's maybe a 60-40 for Wildcard Gaming's composition with the Mistweaver, DK, Windwalker. And what I think is that Method Black's composition is good on the blind. Now, I want to see the Magelock Druid, like Sid said. I want to see the Magelock Druid with the Demonic Circle blind locked in for Method Black, because Wildcard Gaming, they can pretty much expect that the Mistweaver, DK Windwalker is going to be locked in from Wildcard. So I want to see Magelock Druid, and then on their own, if Method Black wins that, I want to see on the blind Roguelock Druid, and then go back to Magelock Druid. I basically want to see what Super Frogs are doing from Method Black.
You know, one thing that I really do want to say, well, with these two teams, a lot of what you're going to hear us talking about on the desk today, especially when we do get to North America, because the Move is one of the teams that we're going to be talking about the most, is going to be how important it is for standings, right? How important it is for the LAN. With these two teams in particular and what they've shown us so far, the true conversation has almost nothing to do with LAN. We know that they're going there, and we expect them to perform well. One of them potentially does take it, but we can't really figure that out yet, especially when we know a new patch is coming. The important thing with these two teams is talking about who is going to be the #1 for the year overall. We know that only one team is going to go from each region based off of points. It's most likely going to be one of these guys, and if one of them doesn't win a LAN, that's when stuff starts going really crazy. So they need to situate themselves in a place where they can pull down all of those points. The race is very much on there, Sid.
Yeah, definitely. If you can secure the most amount of points for your region, you then get a spot directly to the World Finals, regardless of your performance at a LAN event, and that would be the safest, although maybe most difficult route to qualify to the World Finals. But both these teams are so evenly matched that it's too difficult and too early to say which one of them will actually get ahead. Last year, Method Black was just astonishingly ahead of basically everybody in multiple regions in terms of points. Now that they're much more evenly matched, and I mean, Wildcard Gaming 10-1 right now against them, they're going to have to find out something different, and I do think the Destruction Warlock Mage is their best option. Swapsy looked solid on the Destruction Warlock. Raikou is an amazing mage. I do not seem to understand why they wouldn't try to employ that strategy when it looked so one-sided for the Super Frogs yesterday.
Yeah, the Super Frogs did definitely make it. I do want to say one of the other things that was brought up, though, Super Frogs are playing into a very different team, right? There is some potential there to take that into account, but do we want to see it? I think the answer on the desk is 100% yes. So the question is, what are we going to see in the blind? You guys have voted into chat who you think is going to take it. I do want to remind all of you, though, this one is a best of 7, not a best of 5. Pretty even in the chat. 57% of you for Wildcard Gaming. I think that that's pretty fair. I think that maybe we expect a little bit more to go the way of Wildcard Gaming due to what we have seen so far, but you can't count out Method Black. That much is for certain.
I do not like seeing it. I mean, it's at least 60-40, but the Frost Mage Destruction Warlock just looks so solid. And they must be expecting the Windwalker, Death Knight, Mistweaver, and the Blind Pick. They play it pretty much every game, Wildcard Gaming. This is just their new bread and butter. Let's see if they can manage to do it. They did take one game off of Wildcard Gaming with this composition, so there is still opportunity for them for sure. This start is great for Method Black with multiple boosted Garrote damage there from Stealth on both Blizzo and Z-Pi and crowd control on Looney. But even with that great start, not able to sink their teeth in just yet.
Interesting. Z-Pi, I don't think the last time these two teams met, he was playing the Dark Simulacrum, or at least he didn't get any value out of it. So now he's actually...
He stole Fear.
Yeah, he just took Fear. So now Chaz in a full Fear, and this is extra crowd control Wildcard Gaming has available. You see the Fear on Chaz, into a Paralysis, Looney in position to get a leg sweep. And this is where Wildcard Gaming can get hyper-aggressive, and I think that extra crowd control might even swing this matchup in more of favor for Wildcard Gaming.
All right, Swapsy trying to use that Nether Ward to reflect incoming Gladiator's Maledicts. Will he be able to survive? This is a huge burst, still very low on health. Chaz connects some big Nourish heals in the back line, but another Stolen Fear. Swapsy cannot afford to give this much crowd control to Z-Pi. It could allow Wildcard Gaming to find victory. Now with Way of the Crane activated, they're trying to close this out. Swapsy Demonic Gates gets gripped back into the fight. Looney gets peeled away for a few moments. They're actually trying to swap to him. He's able to Transcendence away from the Chaos Bolt. Good denial. Looney manages to escape. I like that move by Waz, trying to punish Looney's push in and protect Swapsy, and at the same time put pressure on Wildcard Gaming.
Yep, Blizzo porting away. We need to make sure he's doing a good job with his Transcendence. I don't even think he relayed it. You can see in the middle, right on top of Blizzo, he actually forgot to relay his Transcendence again, and this cost him on the Grand Arena before, so the things could start getting scary, especially without that extra mobility.
Chaz is playing Feral Affinity. I just noticed that when he stunned up Looney. They could switch to Chaz. We've seen Windwalker Death Knight in the past just run a Druid over, especially with the Feral Affinity. I'm wondering if they want to do that. It's a little bit riskier, obviously. You leave Swapsy open, and so far they've been getting so much pressure on Swapsy, it's unlikely. Maybe even just kill him. The crowd control from Wildcard Gaming is on point here in game number 1, continuously denying the cast of both Chaz and Swapsy simultaneously. Looney taking complete control of Chaz. Swapsy unable to really get any counter pressure going. He's under fire. Another Stolen Fear by Z-Pi could just close game number 1 out as Swapsy continues to get bursted. Iron Park needs to be enough, but he's only got 10% health remaining. Is it going to be? Doesn't look like it's going to be, and Swapsy will fall in game number 1. Wildcard Gaming, that was absolute domination.
Yeah, it definitely was. Now you're going to see absolute domination in reverse, and you know what? It looks the exact same when you rewind it.
Yeah, when you rewind it, however you want to play it, fast forward, rewind, slow motion, Z-Pi is going to look like a king there, stealing those fears, applying them to Chaz, and he knows in that matchup, Z-Pi is the most durable target. Z-Pi, he can pick a little bit more offensive talents, still go with offensive, with defensive gear, and he's going to be very durable. Looney and Blizzo, they are the main pressure points in this matchup. As you can see right here, Blizzo caught up in that stun. He's going to be able to survive it easily with that life cocoon. And then here is a nice CC chain. Chaz getting leg swept. Z-Pi stealing a fear, dropping that fear onto Chaz, and then a lot of pressure here onto Swapsy, and Blizzo as well going to follow that up. Looney's going to follow that up with a Paralyze. That's a beautiful, about 12 seconds long instant CC chain. Actually more, like 13, 14 seconds long instant CC chain. And the more this matchup plays out, the more it just looks like it goes in the favor of the Windwalker DK. So the biggest adaptation wasn't actually made from the losing side in this series, and usually Method Black is the team that would get bodied in the upper bracket, come back up after they struggle in the lower bracket, and just completely reverse that series because they learned so much from losing. But here, Wildcard Gaming, despite winning, they're constantly looking for things to improve on, and this time around is going to be that Dark Sim from Z-Pi, netting them the win.
It's funny because that's actually really one of the advantages too of making it to the grand final first. first. You know, they get to sit back. They're relatively confident it's going to be a rematch. And like, how do we destroy them more better? And then that's exactly what they actually do get to do when they get into the arena. At this point, I'd put my mustache on Wildcard Gaming. I don't think Method Black is going to be able to take it.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a mustache tomorrow. Like, it's going to be fine. I'm 100% serious right now. Wildcard Gaming just looks nearly unbeatable in this matchup, and it's 2 weeks in a row. It's two weeks in a row that they've licked us on.
I mean, that was the best game that I think I've seen them play the entire year. There was no mistakes really defensively other than Looney forgetting his transcendence in the middle. Maybe that could have bit him, or Blizzo leaving it in the middle. Maybe that could have bit him later on.
I'm gonna get mad at Blizzo if he does that again.
In terms of aggression and setup, Wildcard Gaming, like normally when we've critiqued Looney in the past is that he's great defense. He'll always make sure his team survives for a really long time and basically make zero mistakes defensively, and that's been kind of their known play style. But then they aggressively, it's always, why aren't they just getting aggressive? Why don't they try and go for a kill? Why are they so focused on only defense? That's in the past now. That game was just, there was no mistakes at all. They just had beautiful setups, constant denial, and it's easy win for them really because of it. If I'm Method Black, I really think I would be considering a different composition. Even if this might have a shot, the Destruction Warlock Mage is just so much superior in the matchup.
Now they're going to a larger map, so already a big change in style. I mean, we saw them lock in a lot of smaller maps last time around and didn't really work out well for them. So already a big change for Method Black. Okay.
I can get on board with this. I think Chaz and Raikou, they have great synergy with the Frost Mage and the Resto Druid, and I think that's the most important part here. Waz always been a really good defensive melee, whether it's on the Rogue, the Warrior, or the Windwalker Monk, and that's kind of what you need. He's going to have to set up good defense for his team and good offense, and we've already seen how this matchup played out when we saw Wildcard Gaming running the Frost Mage, Resto Druid, Windwalker Monk against the Pumpers. They were able to take victory, and we kind of expected Method Black to adapt this strategy a lot sooner. Finally, in the grand finals, down 0-1, they are opting to make a change, and I think it's really intelligent because Roguelock Druid doesn't seem like a favored matchup.
Yeah, I think that now that we see this, how much hope do you give them? Would you place your beard on Wildcard Gaming?
I'm not betting anything. You're the one that already bet your mustache, so we'll have to see what happens.
You got my back, man.
No.
I thought you were my
You're
duo.
alone on this one.
I thought you were my duo.
I'm going to be the one to shave it off.
I mean, the biggest risk would be if Zika bet his afro.
I would never do that. It's a national treasure.
It's a national
Protect Zico's hair at all costs.
A Warcraft national treasure.
Method Black is a way too good of a team to be betting anything in that realm. But let's actually talk about this. How much hope do we think that it does give Method Black, Zico?
I like the swap. I think Waz on that Windwalker, I mean, we saw him even in the previous matchup. He didn't look too shaky. He has a lot of experience on it. He's gone in rank 1 on that Waz Walker. So I like this adaptation. I'm gonna be very interested to see in what build Raikou is running. I want to see the Burst of Cold. I want to see the Michael Jackson. I want to see the Freezing Rain, as well as that Icelands build with the packed ice and the whiteout. That's what I'm looking for in this matchup, and I think that Method Black could have something here.
They might have something. I think really the mage was, interestingly enough, one of the things that we're asking for in a lot of these different compositions, and you just brought up so many of the things that it is going to bring to Ashmane's Fall and this series. This one's going to be really telling, and we're in a situation here where, guys, you got to remember the last series that we did see between these two teams just, an hour or so ago, when the last game was a Death Knight Windwalker mirror with Chaz on the Holy Paladin. These guys are trying to figure something out desperately, and they had to play another series, so they don't have the same amount of time. Wildcard Gaming, they're just running through everything. They have everything that they need to beat this team right now. A best of 7 going to give some wiggle room to Method Black, but also going to give Wildcard Gaming a chance to really close the vice, clamp down on this team. Ashmane's Fall going to be a telling map here. Do you think that there's any chance now that we are seeing Raikou with Waz? Is there any chance that we do see the Mage Warlock a little bit later on in the series if this doesn't work, in your opinion, Ben?
I mean, at this point, they got to try something. I'm glad they tried this. If this doesn't work, your guess is as good as mine. I think that would be their next best option for sure, but maybe they don't want to take that risk. Maybe they don't feel comfortable with it. I have to agree with Zico. I really want to see Raikou making sure he's not opting into Frostbolt damage. He's going to get trained down, and if he's using Tunnel of Ice, I just feel like he's going to get no value out of those talents. What we saw Maro do, I think, was the best strategy you can have. Really focus on Ice Lance damage. A lot of that instant burst that is unpreventable, and then you get the extra cone of cold damage as well, which gives you a lot of cleave pressure, which I think pairs quite nicely with a Windwalker Monk.
EU Grand Final, Wildcard Gaming looking to do it again, looking to have an additional win against this team in Grand Finals this year, trying to catch up for first place for the overall standings. Let's see what they can do.
All right, Swapsy put on the bench. Raikou and Waz going to be tag teaming together here in game number 2 against Wildcard Gaming. Wildcard Gaming on the rise here in this spring season, just asserting dominance over the European region and looking to be a strong contender to potentially take the spring finals as well. Method Black, they're flustered. They're trying to come up with a way to deal with it, and so far, basically nothing has worked. Blizzo with Touch of Death is looking for some huge burst here. Chaz denies with Iron Bark already activated, reducing the incoming damage and stabilizing the team quite effectively. Waz is now trying to reverse some pressure here with tons of damage. Touch of Death about to explode. How is Blizzo going to respond? Is he going to under-respond? Gets bursted, able to portal away, barely surviving around the corner. Waz in hot pursuit.
Yep, we'll have to see what happens. Blizzo already forced to trade out his Touch of Karma. Icy Veins used by Raikou. Chaz with no trinket. Might get swapped to, but no, they're just mostly focusing on crowd control. I want to see if Waz is playing the grapple weapon. I think it's really important. He's actually not. And we saw that be such an important talent for Blizzo when they were running that composition to actually take down the Death Knight of Cervantes. So I think that's a little bit of a mistake there for Waz. He's opting into a little bit more defense with the Fortifying Brew, but I don't think he's going to be the main target in this matchup. I think it's kind of a waste.
Well, there's a lot more to it than just locking in the classes that were able to overcome a composition. You also need to have the gear set, the talents, the trinkets. There's so much more that goes into preparation than just saying, yeah, we'll play Windwalker Mage into Windwalker Death Knights. You have to know exactly the builds that are run to be able to get an edge, and right now Method Black are not playing the best builds overall necessarily to be able to overcome that disadvantage. The build that they are running, they're employing the best strategy, which is killing Blizzo. However, we've saw in the past with the grapple weapon strategy that you can kill the Death Knight, and he is a liability later into dampening. Looney, beautiful play. He saw Polymorph being casted and he wasn't able to avoid it. So right as the cast finished, he activated Life Cocoon. So he sits through a full Polymorph, and the Life Cocoon soaks up all of the damage that would have otherwise been threatening to Blizzo with no Touch of Karma. Looney's defense looks unshakable. Their offense in game number 1 looked unbeatable, and Wildcard Gaming are just on a whole nother level now that Method Black have to scramble to get on an even footing.
Yeah, what is Raikou going to do? Blizzo still a little bit low here. Good burst damage coming in from Method Black. Do they have the crowd control? Raikou sneaks in a full Polymorph. This is a good opportunity here. Touch of Death rolling for Blizzo, though. They're looking to get really aggressive on a Raikou, and a Polymorph was actually cast out onto Chaz. Zeepai once again with the Dark Simulacrum, just owning Method Black. That full Polymorph might net the first Ice Block from Raikou. Paralysis follows it up. Looney looking for a leg sweep, manages to find it. Raikou in some trouble now. No Iron Bark, no Temporal Shield. This is normally when you see the Windwalker Death Knight get some pressure, but Waz with beautiful backup lands the double leg sweep, and that frees Raikou up to survive.
All right, Chaz is going to need to try and get away and drink and regenerate mana. Looney is significantly ahead in that regard, and if Looney can have as much mana as possible in dampening, it means he gets more Wave the Crane pushes, which increases the damage of his team immensely and can overwhelm Method Black. Zeepai Blizzo still just gunning down Raikou. Chaz is trying to sneak across. Looney sees it, instantly stops it with that Crackling Jade Lightning. Chaz repositions, but he's unable to find any opportunity. Raikou is still under pressure. Waz is getting cleaved down as well. Both members in trouble. This composition, they've had some decent burst opportunities on the Wildcard Gaming, but overall, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to overcome Wildcard Gaming. I still would like to see them try the Frostmage Destruction Warlock, but if they lose on Ashamane's Fall, then they've really only got Tolvaron to fall back on in a best of 7.
Yeah, Looney into a full Polymorph. He gets the Life Cocoon out, and that will be enough to keep his team alive. Now Raikou in some trouble. Chaz forced to trinket out. He has Iron Bark. This is the Icy Veins. This is the offensive push that Method Black really needs. Blizzo, he trades out. He will ultimately survive with the Touch of Karma as well as the Fire Blood Racial, making him very durable. Double leg sweep coming in from Blizzo. Good setup attempt here from Wildcard Gaming once again. If we look at mana, Looney actually snuck away. He completely topped off his mana. Chaz really struggling. Zeepai realizing he's going to get some sips. He is one thirsty kitten, and Zeepai will be able to shut that down.
Chaz gets denied again. Wildcard Gaming with a significant lead. maybe a potential opening to kill Blizzo here if Blizzo doesn't have that Transcendence in a good location. But it's actually Wildcard Gaming's turn to attack. Chaz is finding no room to breathe, let alone sit down and drink. Looney secures crowd control. Raikou in trouble, but with Temporal Shield rolling right before all that crowd control, heals himself up a tad bit. The crowd control is still just not stopping. Chaz needs to get some big heals soon. That Touch of Death is about to go off. Iron Bark should stall it out. Now Raikou's trying to reverse it with the Frozen Orb, tagging down 2 members of Wildcard Gaming. There's definitely going to need a bit more dampening. I think if we get deeper into dampening, Zeepai definitely becomes the target, but Waz is not running that grapple weapon, so maybe that isn't even enough, and that one strategy adaptation that Method Black are not taking could cost them the game.
Yeah, Chaz sitting down for a drink right now. Will he be able to regenerate mana? That's so important for the team. And nice denial by Waz. Manages to get the paralysis on Looney, only slowing him down for a brief moment, though. And Chaz ultimately able to potentially get another drink here. Looney did deny the first one with the Ring of Peace. Death and Decay denies the second. Chaz not really able to regenerate too much, but Wildcard Gaming, they've had really good pressure. They haven't gotten any ice blocks, though, from Raikou, so still sitting quite pretty. With those 2 major defensive cooldowns available. And I think, like we kind of talked about, is dampening rolls. It's a double-edged sword. Although Method Black's going to be taking more pressure, all of a sudden Zeepai, who I think is a much better target in this matchup, becomes much more vulnerable.
All right, Blizzo under fire, using that Diffuse Magic to get rid of that Gladiator's Maledict, but still low on health. Looney with no Gladiator's Medallion, caught in crowd control. Blizzo could be in trouble if Raikou uses an aggressive ice block. Blizzo tries to stay alive with the Fire Blood. Not going to be enough. Looney has to exchange Life Cocoon as well. Bit of an overlap. Nice Cyclone at low health. Method Black showing signs of life, but they're running out of time. That mana bar of Chaz is not looking too healthy. Blizzo still isolated in midfield. Raikou desperately trying to push forward and get a Touch of Karma with this big push from Waz. They need to get a Touch of Karma off this Touch of Death, but the burst connects. Looney instantly heals it back, and they're not going to be able to bank that cooldown. Chaz is still running on the outskirts trying to drink, and Looney is constantly chasing him down with Crackling Jade Lightning, harassing Chaz and denying him from drinking. Exactly what Wildcard Gaming need to do to find victory, but Raikou sneaks in a counterspell. Blizzo responds, trades out Touch of Karma. Surprising damage here from Wildcard Gaming. This could be an ice block. Chaz is spending so much time trying to regenerate mana, and he's not healing during it. Now locked in crowd control chain, they could switch their attention to Waz, get multiple defensive cooldowns, a 2-pronged assault. Blizzo needs to be careful, though. The longer that he stays in midfield, the more likely that he could go down as well. He exchanges to stay ahead of the damage and just stay on target. Wildcard Gaming look to overwhelm Method Black soon.
Yep, Raikou in some trouble with Temporal Shield, should be able to survive, but in the meantime, Waz also had to trade out the Touch of Karma, so there is that 2-pronged assault you were talking about. Blizzo and Zeepai can definitely get pressure onto Raikou and Waz. Chaz almost completely tapped on mana, but Blizzo's the one that's in trouble. Life Cocoon stabilizes him, keeps him alive. Looney connecting some heals. Ultimately, Blizzo will survive, but with that nice Cyclone from Chaz, that denies a lot of the healing Looney had available. They could potentially keep him low, and Raikou and Waz might be looking to make a swap onto him.
All right, Raikou, what are you going to do? Only 1 ice block left. Chaz got 0 mana, and Looney's constantly on his back, on his tail to say in that cat form. Chaz connects a big heal, stabilizes, but totally tapped now. 20% dampening. They need to try and get the second ice block. Raikou hard carry with these counter spells. It's creating windows of opportunity for Method Black to strike back here in game number 2. They cannot afford to lose on this. Otherwise, they're just down 2 swing match advantages. They're basically losing their best map, one of their best maps at least, against Wildcard Gaming. They can't afford to lose this game if they want to take the entire tournament. Looney in crowd control, full polymorph, opts to use the Gladiator's Medallion to stay aggressive. Waz is running down, Raikou's in trouble. Looney looks to secure crowd control to end the match. Will he find the kill? Blizzo charges in, multiple interrupts, Raikou in trouble. Second ice block easily going to be forced here. They're trying to hold on to it, but they can't. Second ice block, at least they don't panic. They hold on to Iron Bark, but once again, the hard carry counter spells from Raikou. 3 counter spells in a row might be enough to take down Blizzo. He's barely holding on. The crowd control continues with Waz getting a paralysis, but they don't get the kill, and Raikou's got nothing.
Yeah, Waz could be in some trouble now, too, with no trinket. He has a Touch of Karma. Will he get out of the stun? Another stun coming in from Looney. Waz does sneak in the Touch of Karma, and that was a really nice play from Raikou. But Waz still in a lot of trouble here, caught in midfield. Blizzo all over him, but he's just going to let him go. Get back onto Raikou. He's realized Waz probably won't go down in that situation, but now Waz is such a vulnerable target. Nothing really left. Here it is, Chaz sitting down for a drink. Will he be able to regenerate mana? Waz kind of left alone. He gets a leg sweep, but Waz has to kite here. He needs to be able to avoid damage.
Chaz got mana.
He could easily fall.
Chaz got mana, but they've got no... They did it! They got the kill off the back of it! Looney went for a wave of the crane. Okay, so Chaz went for a drink. Looney popped away of the crane to kill Raikou, and he just got destroyed by Raikou and Waz. He just got crowd controlled on it, couldn't connect. He got mana back and then killed Blizzo amidst all of that.
Even the game was so surprised the Scold didn't pop up. That one came out of nowhere.
Yeah, Raikou had such a nice play. He really was patient with his ice block, and what ended up happening is it was a game of chicken between Raikou and Blizzo. Blizzo ended up using the Touch of Karma into Raikou. Raikou's like, great, I'm getting ice block now. You no longer have Touch of Karma, and that's where so much of this pressure stems from.
Exactly what I was about to say there. I know we both looked at each other immediately when that moment happened, and Raikou did a great job there holding onto his ice block, and he had this pressure onto Blizzo, and as soon as that touch, had he blocked before the Touch of Karma, Blizzo would have just stayed patiently, waited. Raikou comes out of the ice block, Touch of Karma, and then Raikou has basically no answer for that. But instead, he gets the Touch of Karma, gets a good value on his ice block, and then I really gotta say as well, it was a big waste from Wildcard Gaming to use both of their leg sweeps on Waz. When he had that the Touch of Karma still available, they ended up also leaving a little gap between the stuns there, so he got it out in between them. It was a complete waste. In that moment, they should have just all-in after Waz. Instead, they went back onto Raikou, who now had his orb back, who now had his damage, was now healthy, had his temporal shield, etc. And all of a sudden, they managed to turn it around. One quick criticism, though, of Raikou's build. No Deep Shatter. We want to see the Burst of Cold. I think we all agree on that. He was playing essentially a build where he's playing Packed Ice and Whiteout, which increases his Ice Lance damage, and then he was playing Lonely Winter, which further increases his Ice Lance damage, and then what he wanted to do was basically play Freezing Rain, which gives him an instant cast Blizzard as well, so he wants to drop the orb, free Blizzard, and reset his orb that way, but he was playing Deep Shatter, and I actually think if you're kiting two melees, Cone of Cold, Nova, Cone of Cold again is really good for keeping them off you, and it also provides a lot of damage. And Cone of Cold, unlike a lot of other AoEs such as Meteor and Arcane Explosion, doesn't get reduced damage-wise based on how many people you hit, because it's a cone that you have to aim. It actually hits each person for the same amount. So if you hit for 20k, it's gonna hit every person for 20k, compared to a Meteor, which would hit for 10k if you hit two people.
Yeah, well, Raikou may have been the thing that was needed. Method Black starting to show some real signs of life in this series. It would be foolish to count Method Black out in any series. It would be foolish to put anything that you care about on the table in a series like this between the best two teams in Europe and potentially the entire world. 1-1, and Raikou may have been the puzzle piece that is needed for Method Black. We're going to be finding that out very shortly. One of the compositions that was being asked, don't look at me like that, one of the compositions that was being asked for quite a bit from you, really, Ben Ricky, was seeing Mage Warlock. That was something that you were asking for quite a bit. Ultimately, what we did see, and now we're going to, okay, this is interesting.
So this is what I wanted to talk about. The comp that Method Black played, while it worked, it's not a blind lockable composition. If you lock that in, you might run into something like the Ellie Mage from Wildcard Gaming, which would be unfavored, especially if they go to a large map. Now Method Black, they see Dalaran Sewers is the selected map, so they're going to go with a Cleave. Problem is, we've seen this Cleave matchup play out as well. Hasn't gone in Method Black's favor in a 3 or 4 game sample size that we've seen so far. So right now, Wildcard Gaming definitely holds the edge, and the blind pick seems to be paying out here. Method Black are going to have to win somehow on a map where they're disadvantaged, and I'm surprised that they didn't lock in the Roguelog Druid, because this would be a time to lock that in. I guess seeing Zeepire play with the Dark Sim really made them feel like, okay, we shouldn't win that.
Yeah, I really, it's interesting to think about going back to a Cleave now after what we saw in the last series as well, Sid.
I mean, it's risky. In this map in particular, Chaz is going to have a difficult time drinking, and we've already seen it time and time again. The Mistweaver will outdo the Druid's mana if the Druid cannot sneak away and drink. So while this is maybe their most well-rounded composition, Wildcard Gaming are setting themselves up for success.
Yeah, I think that Wildcard Gaming has obviously been set up for success in this series, mostly because of this composition, right? I think that figuring that out was a huge thing that happened last week. It was one of the things that really allowed them to snowball forward in the meta and the series. And now Method Black is going to be in an interesting spot too, when we do know that that advantage is already away with Wildcard Gaming. Do you feel like, though, in a best of 7 that advantage is diminished a little bit, that momentum that you get from something like a blind pick?
I don't really think so. For Method Black, I really would have liked to see them switch it up on game number 1, but obviously there's only so much you can do. Looking back at the past, they made the mistake. Luckily for them, they at least found an answer to lock in when we see Wildcard Gaming lock in this composition blind. I don't really mind this for Method Black. I think on the smaller map, Raikou will be able to sit on top of Looney a little bit more, potentially getting those mana rifts and winning in mana, having that advantage at least, but we've seen from Wildcard Gaming the consistent pressure Blizzo and Zeepai put out, especially with Blizzo using that grapple weapon, is just so strong against Death Knights in particular. Swapsy has really struggled to survive, and I think Chaz, who isn't really going to have too many moments in the match where he can sneak away to get for drinks, because I just think Swapsy's going to be way too pressured.
You can't sneak away for drinks if you don't even make it to the party. We're going to have to see Chaz re-queue right now, and then we'll get ready for Dalaran Sewers. But Zico, I want to ask a question right now that kind of goes a little bit bigger. We already asked this about Change My Mind. We started to say, what do they look like on the global scale? Only one more tournament left after this one. We have one tournament and one series, and then we're going to be at LAN. These two teams, they've dominated EU. We expect this grand final pretty much every time that we sit down on Friday. You know, even on Wednesday when everything starts getting played out, you expect to see like this final time and time again. You know what? You expect it even before that. I already expect to see this grand final again next week, and that's like 2 weeks away, right? So you expect that out of EU. When we get to North America, do you think these teams are going to be that dominant across the entire world?
It's hard to say, especially again because it's going to be on a different patch, but the way I look at it right now is who has the most versatile players on their roster. I would say Looney and Chaz. They've been basically able to play every single healer that their team needs. So in that regard, they look very strong. And a team like Super Frogs, who has a player like Snuts, who can play, 4 or 5 different specializations and do really well with, teams like that are definitely going to be also a contender. In my mind, I think Super Frogs look like the best team in North America for that Springland, and I think Wildcard Gaming and Method Black, of course, also look like the best teams from Europe because of that flexibility. People like Zeepai and Blizzo being able to multi-class a lot, people like Swapsy being able to play so many different things. They really remind me of players like Snuts because they can all play those different specializations, and then of course having that healer on your team who can play pretty much everything is really key. Same thing goes for Gorecki over in the boys. He can play a lot of different healers too. So those 3 teams I would definitely keep my eyes on.
Definitely important to think about as this first season of the year is starting to get to its climax. Now we're tied up 1-1. Wildcard Gaming against Method Black.
Explosive start here for both sides. Method Black have 3 members low on health. Touch of Karma already pulled from Blizzo. Method Black trying to battle it back here in this series. If they can overcome this swing match, they will then have the advantage should this series swing to a Game 7. So far, so good. Getting Looney locked down in crowd control during the wave of the crane. Can they stall it out a bit longer? No. Looney now able to stabilize, and Blizzo look to counterattack.
Yeah, Raikou has to do a great job in this matchup of landing those mana rifts. That's the lead that they need. I feel like on all other fronts, Wildcard Gaming will have the advantage, but if they can get Looney out of mana, they might be able to take down this team. So far, good pressure coming up from both sides. Blizzo, Zeepai really focusing on Swapsy. He's forced to trade out of the leg sweep. I'm curious to see if Blizzo is going to be running that grapple weapon. And I think he is. It's just so strong against the Death Knight. If you can disarm him, he actually isn't running it. He's running Tiger Eye Brew instead. So really trying to shred through some of that armor Swapsy has available. All
right, Looney actually tapped on cooldowns here. Blizzo low as well. Method Black are playing this Demon Hunter Death Knight more aggressively, not so much focused on the mana rift. While I'm sure they're cycling it in, they're focused a lot more on crowd control and burst and overwhelming Wildcard Gaming, which is an adaptation that we have not seen from this composition in particular. And let's see if it's enough to crack Looney.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Raikou so far has been doing a really good job. Looney gets interrupted. Looks like he's kind of falling apart here, but should be able to stabilize as Raikou is forced to help out Swapsy just a little bit in the matchup. Blizzo, when he has that Tiger Eye Brew, he's going to be able to do tons of damage, but Swapsy can see that, and the one reason why I don't like Tiger Eye Brew in this matchup is Swapsy, with the anti-magic shell, can completely deny all of that nature damage Blizzo will have available.
Huge pressure from Method Black in this position. 2 members low on health. Looney struggling, falling behind on mana, which is not what we have typically seen in the matchup between Mistweaver and Restoration Druid. Imprisoned denies the way of the Crane for a couple of seconds. Do they have anything out of it is the question. They don't. Looney will then start to stabilize the team, but at least they've limited the damage potential from the way of the Crane by saving that Imprison, timing it. Chaz gets crowd control. Swapsy under fire. Looney still the one on the back foot. Transcendence around line of sight, but Raikou in hot pursuit with an immediate disrupt, breaking up the cast time. Now Soothing Mist freely being cast. Swapsy unable to connect for now. Looney repositions, but Chaz still has a lead, and I was not expecting Method Black to have this great of a showing.
Yeah, things are looking really good for Method Black and really bad for Rich's mustache. And Blizzo are getting lower. What is Looney going to do? Triple leg sweep. Chaz forced to trinket out. Darkness gets dropped out as well. Actually doesn't, so Raikou still has that available when he needs it. Blizzo a little bit low. Touch of Karma, Touch of Death committed. They're really looking to get pressure here onto Chaz. Can Chaz escape? Manages to get out of line of sight, finding a regrowth, but Looney there might be able to find a full leg sweep, but no, he can't leave Blizzo behind. Life Cocoon has to trade out. Wildcard Gaming is falling apart.
I mean, I think they're just starting to realize they can't go toe-to-toe in a melee throwdown in the center field. They have to instead try and run Chaz down, which then puts this game on even more of a clock. Chaz gets swapped to and bursted. How will he respond? Multiple cooldowns overlapped to try and stabilize. Chaz manages to recover. Now Wildcard Gaming on the back foot with Blizzo so low and no Touch of Karma. Looney trying to run away, but every time he retreats, Blizzo is left behind. Blizzo just has to stay next to him. Looney in trouble. Wave the Crane at low health. If he gets interrupted on any of these Rising Sun kicks, one Blade Dance to immune it, he's not going to recover, but it looks like he is slowly and surely able to recover through the burst. Mana starting to even out. Still a slight lead for Method Black, but I'm glad that Wildcard Gaming are switching up the strategy. I think going after Chaz is likely their only option.
Yeah, it's looking good too. Chaz is falling apart just a little bit with no Trinket, no Bark Skin. The next swap on Chaz, it will most likely be Raiku's Darkness, but he doesn't actually have it available, so there's really no safety net left for Method Black if they can continuously get this pressure out. Looney almost completely tapped on mana. Raiku's still doing his job in this matchup, landing the mana rifts, keeping that lead for his team. Chaz was able to sneak away for a little bit of a drink, and he secured that lead, which is going to be so important for Method Black.
All right, Blizzo, very low. Trades Touch of Karma and survives. Now trying to go all in, but maybe overextended. Transcendence back on Chaz's face. Lots of damage. It's going to be a race to the finish. Both healers almost completely tapped on mana. I think that Chaz is going to have more favorable exchange. He just got better mobility to avoid Z-Pi than Blizzo is going to have to avoid Raikou. Chaz trades out Iron Bark to stabilize the team. Looney only has enough mana for maybe one more Way of the Crane. When are they going to go for it? Triple stun secured as Looney overextended. Blizzo's in trouble. He's just going for the kill. He's trying to race it with the Touch of Death. Maybe not a race that he can win. Maybe it is. Chaz tries to jump back behind the box. Gladiator Safeguard protecting him for now, but how much longer? Blizzo just doesn't care. He's just caution to the wind. He's going to be training him down to the bitter end.
Looney, Z-Pi looking to close out the game. What are you going to do, Chaz? He still has Trinket and Barkskin. Doesn't want to wait too long. Looney, the final push with Way of the Crane, and Chaz manages to survive. I think he's going to be able to get away. This means Blizzo could be in a lot of trouble if Swapsy and Raikou can maintain the pressure. They might be able to take him down, but Method Black, they're tapped on mana as well. Both teams really don't have too much left to work with.
Moving deeper into dampening that grapple weapon strategy to kill Swapsy could be quite effective, but Swapsy has actually made an adaptation in his build, running that Lichborn, which is just effectively a 1-minute cooldown Icebound Fortitude, so he can trade that frequently with Iron Bark from Chaz, which is how they're able to stabilize and stay so far ahead in terms of pressure. Perhaps Z-Pi should look to make that adaptation if this matchup occurs again. Looney's so far behind on mana, maybe, but Chaz is he going to get it? He needs to get some mana off this. Z-Pi doesn't want him to, but he got the tiniest bit, maybe enough. Swapsy trying to reconnect. Blizzo marching forward. It's still do or die at this point. Chaz has lots of options and Blizzo doesn't. So if you're Wildcard Gaming, you're going to have to be playing pretty shaky here. They got a double stun. They stall. Looney.
Oh no.
Sits down.
This is
One
disastrous.
sip, two sip. 3-2 is enough. That's two-way of the Cranes. I don't think Chaz can handle that.
No, that is it. Looney drinking. That's going to secure this match for them unless Blizzo completely throws. Chaz getting lower. No mana left to work with. Still has the Barkskin.
Yeah.
Not trading it out as he gets Death Grip back in. Wildcard Gaming, close call for them, but ultimately with solid gameplay take the victory.
Whew, great play by Wildcard Game, and they're really tightening it up at the end. And this is the type of team that you can just rely on consistently. Zico, how were they able to bring this one back?
Yeah, I mean, that drink in the end really did seal the deal for them, and it really did look shaky there for a second. You know, that game was definitely on a razor's edge there for a little split second there, Rich. But they managed to hold on that way of the Crane push that did allow Looney to go completely out of mana. Did, however, put up enough pressure, forced out Chaz's Trinket, and then with that pressure onto Chaz, and with beautiful changes of ice, and that double leg sweep as well from Blizzo, really setting up Looney to get that drink. And at this point, I mean, Chaz, what are you gonna do? There's not really much you can do. You have your Iron Bark, you have your Bark Skin, but you don't have any mana left to press any of your heals. Of course, the Frenzied Region is not going to be enough as well, with Zeepai stacking up those Necrotic Strikes, and yeah, they managed to take it.
And of course, they're not on match point yet. This is going to be a best of 7. We do need to keep that in mind. How do we think the best of 7 is going to affect the rest of the series here, Sid?
I think we're going all the way. I think we're going all the way to a best of 7, and it's going to come down to the swing match. So Method Black have to overcome a disadvantaged play, and that was looking like a good opportunity to do it. But then Wildcard Gaming, just in the middle of the game, are like, all right, this isn't working out. We need something different. And as soon as they changed it, they just destroyed Method Black. So maybe Chaz needs to change over from the Druid onto a Mistweaver himself if it comes down to these cleave mirrors to try and overcome the small maps. But right now, Wildcard Gaming, I think they're going to take it, but it's going all the way.
I actually think that Wildcard Gaming set that up. Well, looking at Blizzo's talents, normally when they go after the Death Knight, they always have the grapple weapon. So I think what they were doing early on was just building up the Tiger Eye Brew so they could make that offensive push on Chaz, get through the bear form armor, and really put Chaz under pressure. And I think it was smart by them, and they executed perfectly. Like, I really think that was 100% intentional.
Yeah, I think that they set that up nicely. But do we see... We all think we're going to Game 7.
Maybe.
Mugambala Game 7. Prophecy.
Prophecy. I honestly, at this point, I don't think we're making it to a Game 7. You all think that we're going all the way to a Game 7 in this one?
You worried?
I think a 4-2, if we're being realistic.
I do, but I think your mustache survives.
Yeah,
I think be close, and you might have like a little bit of anxiety, but it'll be all right.
Wildcard Gaming looks great here, though. I really do think that still is the case. Do we think that Method Black has shown that they found enough answers to potentially, if they get a swing matchup, to bring it all the way to Game 7 and have that momentum in their favor? That's kind of the big question here. Now we are going to go to one of these larger maps. We're going to head to Tolvaran Arena, and I think when we actually do see the comp get locked in, it's going to tell a lot. I think we assume that we see Raikou. Are we going to see the Monk? Are we going to see the Warlock?
What I want to see from Method Black is they need a different blind lock in, and I know we said that potentially the Windwalker Frostmage Resto Druid isn't the best blind, but I think they need Wildcard Gaming off the Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver. They just seem really solid on it, really well practiced and rehearsed. And I think at the very least, Method Black should be like, okay, well, we can play Windwalker Frostmage Resto Druid. It's a pretty well-rounded composition. What is Wildcard Gaming going to do into it? Because I don't think there's one comp in particular I think Wildcard Gaming has as just an automatic win. I think the Windwalker Mage probably has a good chance against anything Wildcard Gaming has, so I'd rather see that locked in than allow Wildcard Gaming to just consistently lock in the Windwalker Death Knight, because this seems like they're unstoppable with it.
Okay, that's a really important thing to note, right? We kind of need to figure out for Method Black not only when they can maybe have that outcome when they are coming off of that loss, but also what they are locking in blind, going to be really important here. And Zico, where do you sit in that category? What do you think that they should be locking in blind? It's hard. That's the reason that they're in this case, right? That's the reason that the situation's been so grim.
There's a couple of options. I know that Chaz plays Monk. I've seen him play it. I don't know if he's confident enough to bring it out in a final, but if Chaz played that same matchup that we just saw, but with a Monk, I feel like it would be better for them, and potentially that could be good enough.
Oh.
The other thing is Method Black could run the Windwalker Mage, probably run into the Mage Ellie, but I feel like if it's on a small map and they blind lock the Windwalker Mage, so what if you run into the Mage Ellie?
I think Looney switching to Druid, anticipating Windwalker Mage. Wants to have more rotation of crowd control and be able to avoid polymorph, basically make it more difficult for the Mage of Raikou to get crowd control. So now Method Black have to consider, is the Windwalker Mage still a good option with Looney playing Druid now instead of Mistweaver?
Yeah, do you just go Druid here just because you're on Tolvaron? You can be a little bit greedy. You can try to go away for drinks.
I think they're trying to bait Method Black to lock in DHDK again.
That was kind of what my ask was. Is this one of those things where it's like, okay, I can be greedy on this map, I can get drinks. What can stop drinks? Okay, probably your DK, probably your DH. Go ahead, play it. You don't look good on it.
Yeah, I mean, for Wildcard Gaming, they seem to have that comp definitely figured out, so trying to bait Method Black into playing it, I think would be intelligent. For Method Black now, you really have to think, what are you going to do? I'm kind of wondering if they could just go back to Elemental Frost Mage Resto Druid on Tolvaron, and we know Raikou, Swapsy, they play that a lot, and I think into the Restoration Druid, it's definitely a solid pick here for Method Black, and they could just default to that, and I think have an advantage on this match.
That's an interesting one. Zico, what do you think about that? It's funny because I feel like Frost is consistently the thing that's kind of being asked for, right? Every time we're asking to see Raikou on the Mage, we've heard a bunch of different comps that potentially could do it. We haven't really talked about having Swapsy on the Elemental Shaman in this particular matchup. How do you think it would look?
I think the Elemental Shaman Frost Mage could also work, for sure. Is a good answer for what Wildcard Gaming are bringing. But again, it's not the hard counter. It's a matchup that you could win, you should win, and they are going to lock it in. But it's not that 70-30 matchup that we want to see. There's still potential here for Wildcard Gaming to get something going. We've seen all-in pushes onto Raikou, and I feel like we haven't really seen this matchup with the Druid that often, but I think Looney can get away with playing Feral Affinity first and foremost. And secondly, if they push in, they get an ice block, and then they go behind the pillar, I think Looney can just drink.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? You look at this matchup, and yes, it's not going to be the 70-30. I think we've already seen from Method Black that they don't have that 70-30 matchup, and if they do, they don't know what it is yet, based off of what we've seen, not only in this Grand Final, but in the previous series as well, in the Winners Final. Sometimes throwing the curveball is important, as we have mentioned, and I think this composition, it might shock Wildcard Gaming. They might be slightly thrown off because of it, and that may allow Method Black to get the win, Zico.
Yeah, man, I think Method Black are favored, but I don't think that they're that favored. I think Wildcard Gaming could just as easily also get a win here.
Yep.
However, if I had to bet, and my mustache isn't as big as yours, but I would definitely bet on Method Black taking this game.
Your mustache is fine, Zico. It's fine. Super Tease, how do you feel about this composition?
I just realized I'm the only one without one. Feels bad.
Everybody's got some big mustaches on the desk except for you. But when we do look here at this series, who do you think is going to get the...
I expect Method Black to take this. I think without the Mistweaver Way of the Crane, I don't think Wildcard Gaming can do enough damage to overwhelm Method Black compositionally. Maybe. At the same time, we haven't seen the Elemental Shaman Mage in what feels like a long time from Method Black. Maybe they're a bit rusty on it, whereas Wildcard Gaming have been doing nothing but Windwalker DK. So if you take that into consideration, maybe there's potential.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's an important thing to bring up. How does the rest of the series go if Method Black loses this, though? Is there any hope if they lose this that they can really turn it around? They'll have so much less to experiment with.
If they lose this,
yeah,
it's a nightmare.
It's just such a nightmare.
They have to win on their blind pick and win a swing match if they want to win the series. So losing on their blind pick is just a complete and utter nightmare for them. And I would almost say they would just be completely counted out in my mind. I think Wildcard Gaming will just have a massive lead. I think Method Black, they have to get a win here, really important, and then they have to figure out something for the blind pick that's going to be different than the Demon Hunter Death Knight. They have to try to force Wildcard Gaming off of this Windwalker Death Knight. I do think there's compositions that they have available, but we'll just have to see if they do end up running it.
It's so important for Method Black to take this here. One more time, do want to remind you guys that we're not on match point. Wildcard Gaming needs to win 2 more. This one is going to be a best of 7. This is the grand final. This is for all the marbles. 120 points on the line. These are the top 2 teams in Europe. Wildcard Wildcard Gaming, slightly behind. They have been trying to catch up to Method Black. These teams are so far and beyond the other teams in EU, but Wildcard Gaming is just waiting for that opportunity. They have been on absolute fire. Last week, they were able to beat this squad in the grand final, and yeah, 440 to 340. That's a big gap to close, though, and it's going to be really difficult with how Method Black's playing, because let's say Wildcard Gaming beats them every week in the grand final. Not the most ridiculous scenario to really try to predict. That's 20 points each week. That's almost a full season to try to catch up.
Yeah, Method Black definitely have set themselves up for a lead, but I really think, if we go as far as looking at the summer season even, I really think that one of these teams for sure is not going to be making it to every single final. One of them is going to drop out a little bit earlier, for sure. Especially if the meta changes maybe change my mind to be good with the Rogue Mage or something, and all of a sudden one of them doesn't make it to the final, and then that's a big momentum swing in terms of points. But right now they are definitely neck and neck. Wildcard Gaming, the way it looks right now at least, are going to be closing that gap by making it 80 points instead of 100 points. And then if they can take the next cup, then that would be a 60-point difference. If Method Black bows down a little bit earlier as well in that cup, which is slightly unlikely to be honest, because their worst performance this entire season has been second place, then you would still be able to get some more of those points back.
Yeah, I don't want to discredit what you're saying about, you can't accurately say that they're just going to be going to the grand finals every single time. But one of the reasons it's easy to do that is just because that's how the math's going to shape up. If they are top 8 every single time, you look at the way that the points are going to go, it takes a long time to catch up 100 points to a team that's consistently top 8, top 4. Now, Method Black trying to figure out answers still. They got to be sitting there right now, waiting for 8.15, waiting to go Zandalari troll and just figure out what else they can change up, because Wildcard Gaming has been slowly pulling ahead.
Yeah, Wildcard Gaming, it's funny because in the previous weeks it was Method Black that was ahead, and our question on the desk was Demon Hunter DK, how are you going to beat it, Wildcard Gaming? How are you going to beat it? And then Colo, he sat in his laboratory, cooked up, some compositions, and all of a sudden Windwalker DK Mistweaver came out with grapple weapons and very aggressive strategies, and they're like, we could take that and play it better. Let's just do that. So then they did that, and now Method Black are the ones, hey, Method Black, how are you going to beat Wildcard Gaming? And the interesting thing is, if you look at the overall picture here, is that Method Black actually has found a decent answer when they won that game as the Windwalker Frostmage. And that's a big reason to why in the previous match and also in the blind pick, Wildcard Gaming were like, okay, we're on the blind. Mistweaver, Windwalker, DK, let's go. But now when they're on the blind, they're like, oh, wait a second. There's a Windwalker Mage now that we have to consider as well. And that's what these teams always have to do. They have to find a comp that beats the other team, and then the other team has to find a comp that beats their comp, and then they have to make little tweaks with the healers, with their specs, and back and forth. And it's the same thing over in North America with the Super Frogs and with the boys.
Colo destroyed an entire comp. One of the smartest men in World of Warcraft was able to do it, and ultimately that set a lot of teams behind. Both of the Method teams, honestly, relied very heavily on that composition. Method Black trying to slowly inch their way back into this one, and already you do have to be thinking about some of the changes that are going to pop up with 8.15 and how that will change the meta, and also the fact that they do have that week off. There's going to be a week in between Cup number 5 and week number 6, so they are going to figure out that meta before just jumping in on the blind and trying to figure things out. But now our attention on Tolvaron Arena. Wildcard Gaming going to be leading by 1 against Method Black, trying for repeat success. And now we're going to have this much larger map, Sid. And Looney, is he going to be able to get drinks against Raikou and Swapsy?
Yeah, Looney anticipated a Wizard Cleave set up for Method Black, so he switched to Restoration Druid to try and get a late game advantage in that regard. It's a good preemptive decision on his part to try and guarantee their team the most high % chance to win in this particular matchup. On paper, you would say that Method Black should take this, but potentially Wildcard Gaming, they've been playing this composition basically exclusively, and they are going to be playing at the peak of perfection potentially, whereas Method Black haven't played the Ellie Mage in some time, potentially a little bit rusty here. If Wildcard Gaming can win this, they put them on match point and just continue their domination. I'm really wondering if they can do it here on Tolvaron.
Wildcard Gaming peak perfection is what Sid is calling for. But Swapsy, this is a man who doesn't even know what the word rusty means. I don't expect to see any problems from him at all. And you got to remember, Swapsy came in with so many. Last time we actually saw him on the Elemental Shaman, he was the guy who brought the surprise pressure. All of a sudden, you see that lightning lasso, the Maledict goes flying out, and for some reason, he's got 30 million Earth Shocks in his back pocket that he's able to throw at his opponent. Be ready for Swapsy to try to get that big damage. Chaz instantly going to get a drink off here, and this is something that we see the top-level Druids do. They go for those drinks nice and early, make sure that they never fall behind on mana. We expect both of our Druids to be very thirsty kittens.
Yeah, and right now we kind of have Raikou going in here. I want to see Raikou and Swapsy do what we like to call the triangle positioning, where you have one wizard on each corner of that pillar, basically trying to snipe people behind there. Now we do see Looney go in for the Bash Cyclone. Beautiful counterspell by Raikou. Nice swap here. Nicely done. Looney's going to have to trinket there, and the reason why is at the back of that counterspell. When you are counterspelled as a druid on your Cyclone, on your nature school, you cannot activate that Bark Skin, which otherwise would have been the more efficient trade here for Looney. So now there's an opening for Method Black, potentially to try to take somebody down. If they can land a bash into a Cyclone or a bash into a Polymorph, all of a sudden Blizzo or Zeepai could be in big trouble.
And this is kind of what we expect from Swapsy as well. This is a very efficient trade coming out from him. We don't even need to see that crazy damage, Sid.
Yeah, most certainly. What I like from Looney is he knows that their team needs a little bit of extra damage, so he's gone for the Feral Affinity to try and add in that bit of extra damage. Now, the risk with that is that you lose Guardian Affinity, which reduces damage you take, and also grants you Frenzied Regeneration, which is almost an immediate recovery ability if you're targeted down. So Looney, to be able to win this matchup, has to navigate in, deal damage, and then also avoid dying at the same time as healing his whole team. But if he can accomplish all three of those, he can overcome this disadvantage that he would typically have compositionally facing Method Black.
And that is one of the most important things to note. Also, guys, in the grand final right now, we know both of these Druids are really going to make sure they have what it takes to make it into the late game. We expect these guys to play for that later portion of the game. Look at Looney and Chaz. Look at those mana bars right now. They go for drinks at the same exact time. They get behind their respective pillars, and then they go, okay, we had a reset. Let's go again.
All right, let's see what Looney can get done. Both teams, it looks like Wildcard Gaming are trying to stall. That's mostly because if they fight too long out in the open, they're going to get blasted and blown up by the Wizards of Method Black. So they need to stay at the pillar, Death Grip in a target, stun lock it, try burst it down, and then rinse repeat, at least until deeper into dampening. And then in dampening, they need to try and calculate a push. How long can they stay out in the open to get a kill? And if they can calculate the exact amount of time to do so, then they can find victory. If they miscalculate, then they're going to find defeat. We're going to tie it up and go to a game 5.
Yeah, and Looney is playing that Feral Affinity, so we're going to be looking at him to go in and kind of set his team up with those stuns. Raikou channeling out a Ray of Frost with that Icy Veins, timing out now. Swapsy getting gripped in. The stun is DR though, a little bit of a misplay there from Zeepai, and Looney get that stun into the Cyclone onto Chaz. Not too much pressure is going to be happening at the back of that one though. Chaz still getting crowd controlled up, but they are forced to retreat on the side of Wildcard Gaming. They're going to be looking to increase dampening a little bit, and now you see Swapsy how he moves to the opposite side of the pillar there, and that's of course so that Raikou can get that Frozen Orb so that they can start doing this damage. Now if Swapsy gets gripped in, he's going to punt the enemy team back with that Thunderstorm, then he's going to be able to go into that Ghost Wolf, suppress that Chains of Ice slow, and run out in the open. And now Zeepai and Blizzo have to hard commit, and they actually look to do it here. Now Raikou getting some nice polymorphs onto Zeepai, onto Blizzo, sorry, and Zeepai is going to abort that mission, run back to the pillar. Blizzo transcending back, and now again Swapsy's gonna run to the triangle position right there. You can see Chaz, Raikou, and Swapsy. You can draw a triangle line between them, and Raikou is going to get the Blizzard and the Frozen Orbs, and Looney now going in for a Rake Cyclone, tanks out the counterspell. Nice swap here from Swapsy and Raikou. Raikou though getting swapped to himself as well. Nice Asphyxiate and Grip, not gonna be able to even force out the Temporal Shield by the looks of it, and now Chaz is looking to Cyclone up Looney on low health.
Yep, they are consistently running these cute triangles. Looks like Looney will be caught into the Cyclone. What are they going to be able to do out of it? Chaz finds another one. Zeepai under pressure, but at the pillar he should be fine. A bash now onto Looney. Swapsy moving in. Can he take him down? Is Swapsy just going to be able to solo Looney? Raiku's nowhere to be found, and Looney almost goes down, but he will be able to stabilize. Bark Skin and Trinket should be enough. Zeepai on 40% health as he's caught into the midfield. Touch of Death rolling on a Swapsy, but with a nice Earthquake or a nice Thunderstorm, as well as the Iron Bark, I think Swapsy's going to be completely fine.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we were saying about Swapsy a little bit earlier on in the series. He is going to be able to bring that pressure. Now, Blizzo going to be the target here briefly. Looney has taken the brunt of the damage so far, but you can see that both of these Druids definitely not kidding around when it comes to their mana bars. They're looking for drinks constantly, and now the pressure is on. It's going to make it very difficult to get them. Starting to chunk quite a bit is going to be Blizzo as he's caught in the lasso.
Yeah, and now again, we do see them finally leave that pillar and try to go for a push. They need to get that ice block here. There's no temporal shield. There is no Iron Bark for 5 more seconds on Chaz, and now they are looking to put the pressure onto Raikou. Not going to be able to find it just yet, though. If Raikou can hold on, there it is, Iron Bark. Now the Maledict gets big damage, though. Stun onto Chaz.
Yeah, Raikou's still in a lot of trouble, being greedy with the ice block. We've seen him fall without using it before, but not today. Chaz manages to keep him alive, and Raikou will stabilize, pulling out into the midfield. It really seems like Zeepai and Blizzo, they're now turning their attention over onto Raikou, feeling confident at 10% dampening to make an offensive push into the midfield. Iron Bark's already been traded out. Temporal Shield, those are the major check marks now. Wildcard Gaming, they need to find enough time to continue this push onto Raikou. Blizzo trades out both his Fortifying Brew as well as the Touch of Karma. They really want this ice block.
And he brushes it off the first time. He tries to counter-aggress, and that gets met by Blizzo's aggression. Now Raikou on the chopping block again. The Lightning Lasso going to control Blizzo and then make him the target instantly. A brilliant turnaround coming in from Method Black. Blizzo needs to get out of dodge quickly, cast some of those Vivifies up on himself as his healer is behind another pillar right now. Chaz going to find that opening, finds a cheeky clone as well, trying to keep that pressure rolling for his team.
Yeah, and Blizzo is actually in big trouble. He doesn't have his Transcendence. It was located on that pillar, and Looney and Zeepai kind of just left him there in the back. Now Blizzo is slowly trying to make his way to the pillar. He might have to activate the Touch of Karma. Actually doesn't have it available. Gonna go ahead and use that reverse, gonna use that anti-magic zone instead from Zeepai, and he should be fine, getting cloned up on low HP. Beautifully done by Chaz. Now Looney looking to sit down and get a drink. Raikou, though, gonna be channeling that Ray of Frost, trying to put out some pressure, trying to force Looney to stop drinking. Now Looney looking for the Rake Stun, gets it onto Raikou, might be looking for a Cyclone as well. And the reason why he does it on Raikou there is because Raikou has been landing these counter spells time and time again. Now a lot of pressure onto Swapsy, Van.
Yep, definitely. Swapsy could be in some trouble, but with the way Swapsy kites, what he does is he gets in Ghost Wolf, which suppresses a lot of those snares, and he just runs in a straight line and then really relies on the snares that Raikou has available on that Frost Mage. So in order for Swapsy to actually fall in this matchup, he needs to be caught into stuns. Zeepai and Blizzo need to trade out a lot of their momentum, a lot of the cooldowns they have to stay on target. But I think outside of that, Swapsy's going to be able to easily kite them, and Raikou definitely will be the main target of choice, especially with the build he's playing. He's going with the Lonely Winter, as well as the Tunnel of Ice build, so Raikou free casting is definitely a threat. I think Zeepai and Blizzo, they realize this. They need to be on top of Raikou to slow down a lot of his incoming damage, and so far it's looking good. Raikou might be forced into his first ice block, blinking away from the Fist of Fury, avoiding a lot of damage. Polymorph on Zeepai, beautiful kiting by Raikou in order to potentially keep that ice block in his back pocket, but the pressure from Wildcard Gaming is unrelenting.
Wow, the pressure that they put out there is crazy. He's caught up in the leg sweep. They're finally going to get the ice block. Look at what they got in this exchange. They got a temp. The temp shield is going to be back. Now he's in the ice block. The Innervate was used by Chaz right out of the drink. He's also going to have to trade out that Iron Bark, and Wildcard Gaming does not let up. Raikou only going to have that one ice block left, and now another temp as well, trying to look for some pressure here, but that was such a fantastic exchange from Wildcard Gaming, and this is why that we've considered them one of the best cleaves inside of the world, and especially in EU.
Yeah, and now Chaz is actually going to go and look for his own drink as Wildcard Gaming are retreating. But the thing is, Looney could easily just go and grab his own drink here and tie up that mana, and now they have snagged an ice block here. Zeepai, though, going to be taking a little bit of damage. He does have his anti-magic shell, though. Can't be too greedy with it. Chaz gets caught up in the paralyze. Nice temporal shield from Raikou. The Maledicts come in a little bit too late there. That temporal shield is going to do very big work for them. Now Zeepai has to activate his anti-magic shell as well.
Yep, 32% dampening. Zeepai's going to start getting very scared in this matchup. If he stays in midfield for too long, Swapsy and Raikou will be able to really punish him, but Raikou has to survive until that point. He's getting lower. Second ice block forced out. Not another one available for another 4 minutes. Wildcard Gaming, they're looking great. Blizzo still has Touch of Karma, Diffuse Magic, Fortifying Brew, all his defensives. Zeepai can rely on that anti-magic zone, and they can make that final offensive push onto Raikou. this composition pick may have backfired on Method Black.
Yeah, they definitely can. This is when they want to go for the push because Z-Pi is starting to become one of the juicier targets onside the map. That AMZ going to be traded out. It is somewhat offensive as well. They want to stick onto Raikou. Raikou does have the temp to rely on. That's already going to go off. Not much left. Just in time, Iron Bark. Will it be traded out? Raikou inside of the Icy Veins, but he's not getting anything done yet. He's going to get kicked as they follow on through.
Yeah, and the Touch of Karma is now active on Raikou. The Iron Bark really going to be the last line of defense. Raikou stunned up. This could be the end. He's caught up in that asphyxiate stun. Swapsy trying to keep him alive. Nice stun from Looney, looking to take a Cyclone and CC the whole team. And now he's even looking to add up a little bit of damage to push him through the edge. Can he do it, Van?
I don't know, but Raikou's in a lot of trouble. Leg sweep, Looney just really ripping in with Blizzo and Z-Pi. He's holding on by a thread. Polymorph spam comes in. Chaz finally connects the heal, but look at Chaz's mana. He's used everything he has left in the tank to keep Raikou alive, and at 41% dampening, this is just lights out for Raikou. Wildcard game, just domination. Up 3-1 in the series, and now Method Black, this series is slowly slipping out of their fingers.
And this is also, it's just in the nick of time. This is when all of the sudden it could start to turn around, Sid. All of a sudden you can see the Death Knight not able to get some of that self-healing reliably in dampening, becoming more of a target. And you could see that yo-yo of the health bar even at that point. AMS needs to be traded out almost on cooldown. AMZ needs to be traded out on cooldown. Not defensively though, offensively, so they can stay onto the target, go for those long goals, rip away the temp, rip away the Iron Bark, and just get damage through.
Well, you can just tell that Looney's prepared. He's got the Druid and the Mistweaver. Playing the Feral Affinity is not easy. It's probably the hardest thing you can play on Restoration Druid, but even at the end, if he wasn't running Feral Affinity, maybe they don't have enough damage to kill Raikou here at the end of the match. And Looney always picked his moments. He's not overly focused on defense like he was in the past. He's now getting Cyclones at good timings, and he's getting damage out at good timings. He's not staying too long in the fight and staying too long out of the fight, and he's just looking very well-rounded as a healer right now, and it's definitely the X factor for Wildcard Gaming to overcome that comp disadvantage that Method Black set up.
In this Druid v Druid matchup, Zico, how do you look at stopping drinks? It's a really interesting thing because you have the tools to do it if you do want to focus on it, right? You could stop every drink if you really did want to, but there's this back and forth of wanting both teams want to reset. Do you just let those resets happen?
Well, you're forced in a situation where, because of how large the pillars are and the druids usually going behind them and standing there to drink, it's very, very hard to stop those drinks without overextending, putting yourself in range of that death grip from Z-Pi. And as soon as you do that, if Raikou wants to go in, he would have to shoot out a frozen orb. That's really his only instant AoE damage. If he stands there and starts casting a blizzard, well, he can get kicked, he can get interrupted by grip, he can get interrupted in a lot of different ways. Now, Chaz, he's the worst person to do this because if he goes in there, he can get gripped, and in dampening, they can just use anti-magic shell, use all of their defensives offensively, and just train him down with those maledicts. That's also going to burn a lot of Chaz's mana, so Chaz cannot really go in and do that. And then the other person to do it would be Swapsy. Again, in late dampening, Swapsy just can't do it. So on the side of Method Black, you really can't shut down those drinks without risking yourself. The Raikou is really the only person who can do it, but he loses so much damage just to do that.
Yeah, and Wildcard Gaming at this point going to be all smiles. When we return, they're going to try to take yet another grand final. They are the razor of control here in the EU. It's looking fantastic for them. Just one more game to tie up this, not to tie up the series, to close out this grand final. And this is another one for them ultimately this year. The main thing you look at now if you're Wildcard Gaming, it's how do you get over that 100-point lead that's already been established. You close it by 20 points this weekend, but
You want to know what you do? You make it to the spring finals and you win, and then it's irrelevant how many points Method Black has because you've already secured your spot in the grand final. So I think for Wildcard Gaming, that is going to be their major objective. And I think out of all the teams in Europe right now, they are looking like the most polished and potentially the most dangerous, in the rest of the world.
That's coming from somebody who's been able to pull down victories on the biggest stage, just win more, right? If they are able to get to LAN and guarantee their spot in the finals right off the bat, some other teams in Europe would definitely be very happy as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, if you're Wildcard Gaming, you're perfectly happy with Method Black also winning that, because the point discrepancy between Wildcard Gaming and Change My Mind, it's pretty significant. It's what, 160 160 points. Yes, sir. 160 points before this cup, and it's going to be even bigger if they win this cup. So even if Method Black were to win that, if you're Wildcard Gaming, you want Method Black to win or you want yourself to win. Preferably that they win, of course, because then they get that big prize pool as well. But we can take a look here. Yes, so there's going to be 160 points between Wildcard Gaming and Change My Mind in this cup. Now, if Wildcard Gaming wins, that's going to be 180 points separating these two teams. If Method Black were to win the spring final, that would look good for Wildcard Gaming because then they can also qualify on points. And of course, if Wildcard Gaming wins, then it looks even better for Method Black, having so big difference in their points compared to the third slot team as well. So as long as one of the top teams from Europe wins it, either of those two teams are happy.
Well, you can say, let's just say, and this is counting out some crazy teams like Flat Twist and Chalky Milkman that we know can go the distance time and time again. But let's say ABC and Change My Mind always make it to the top 4. That still means that there's a real chance that Wildcard and Method Black are still widening the gap every single week just by getting more points. They are in a very good position, and that just feels great going to LAN. You basically have two teams that you're okay with winning because one of them just gets you closer, and the other one is you, and it just guarantees that you make it all the way to the finals for the year. But Wildcard Gaming going to try to close it out here against Method Black.
Yeah, this composition from Method Black is really strong into what Wildcard Gaming is running. We saw them eventually take down Blizzo, but I think Blizzo could have survived. It was a really close matchup between these two teams, so I don't think it's completely one-sided. Wildcard Gaming, if they play as well as they have, they can definitely take this game. It's going to be up to Method Black. Waz, Raikou, they need to find pressure in this matchup. They need to force mistakes out of Zeepai and Blizzo, and that's really going to be their moment of opportunity.
We see a big swing from Blizzo early on, but immediate response on Method Black's part. What is piquing my curiosity is that Looney went back on the Mistweaver under the same conditions as he was in the previous game. Let's see how it performs. Already tons of damage dished back to Blizzo. Looney able to clutch out that live cocoon just in time. Perhaps on a smaller map, Looney thinks the Mistweaver is a better pick as it can add some bonus damage. And on Tiger's Peak, you're much closer to a pillar. You don't need to overextend as much. You've got points of line of sight. So he would prefer to play the Mistweaver overall. But on a larger map like Tolvaron, he doesn't have that same luxury as he would on Tiger's Peak. So instead decides to go for the Restoration Druid. I can see the thinking in that decision making, but his Druid just looks so solid. Already you're seeing the weaknesses of the Mistweaver exploited by crowd control. Blizzo has to exchange multiple defensives early on as a result.
Yep, definitely. Looney's super susceptible to that Frost Mage as well as the Restoration Druid. But on the Mistweaver Monk, they've been looking pretty solid so far. This is the composition they've been primarily running. But I have to say, I agree with you. I was very impressed with Looney on the Restoration Druid, and I think that could potentially swing this matchup back in their favor. Raikou getting bursted down. Blizzo getting triple leg sweep there. The entire team of Wildcard Gaming in a stun. Nicely done by Waz, but still, it's Raikou who's on the back foot. And Chaz,
it's match point.
He's gonna have to use a lot of mana. Raikou getting low. Doesn't want to go down without ice blocking, but he blinks away to safety. Chaz now in a paralysis. Still no Iron Bark to fall back on. Raikou's gonna have to use that temporal shield, but so much pressure from Wildcard Gaming.
Yep, that Wave the Crane adding a big punch here from Wildcard Gaming. Blizzo down at half still. Looney struggling, manages to top off with a revival. Well timed, getting the whole team revitalized into the fight. Chaz's mana, that's not too good. Looney's babysitting Chaz, and if he can just constantly stop him from drinking, along with Zeepai's pet management, it's looking solid for Wildcard Gaming. I've never seen a mana lead this early, this significant.
This is what happens. Raikou uses Temporal Shield. Chaz with no Iron Bark, and now Raikou in a lot of trouble as he gets lower. But those moments without
Touch
Iron
of Death!
Bark, Touch of Death! What is Raikou going to do? Still big damage. Raikou blinks away. Icebox the last second of that Touch of Death, but when Chaz is playing greedy and Raikou's playing greedy with the Icebox, Chaz has to use so much mana to keep Raikou alive without Iron Bark and without Temporal Shield. Those moments where Zeepai and Blizzo can continue the push, that's the mana burn phase for their team. Chaz has to cast out heals.
Did he cold snap?
Actually fall. Yep.
Cold snap block, Raikou panic. That's a big overlap. Huge opening for Wildcard Gaming. Look at Chaz's mana. It's not going anywhere but down. They're on match point, they've got no blocks, and they're losing on mana. This is not good for Method Black. Looney might be able to close this out. Chaz is sneaking away. They can't let him sneak away, but Looney's crowd controlled. He can't deny it. Where was Zeepai's Ghoul? Did Shadow Meld drop combat, allow him to escape?
Just kill Raikou.
They should just kill him. Why is Zeepai even trying to stop the drink at that point? still, that decision making right at that split second, you're like, well, the Druid's drinking. Should we stop him from drinking? It's a really tough call to make, but I do agree now after looking at it after the fact that they should have just ran Raikou over.
Yeah, Raikou had nothing left. Raikou's still getting low. Paralysis on Chaz. Looney trying to take him down as Raikou gets gripped back into the fight. He's trying to blink away, but with no ice block for another 3 minutes.
Maybe they can.
Disaster time for Method Black. Chaz, no Iron Bark, no real defense left for Raikou. He's trying to blink away and cast out Frost Bolts. He gets some counter pressure, manages to find the Polymorph on Looney, but Blizzo and Zeepa, they're still looking really healthy.
Double leg sweep denying the Frozen Orb damage from Raikou. Perfect timing by Blizzo as he looks to counter-aggress. Zeepa is locking Chaz down from healing. Temporal Shield may be necessary. Waz holds it out with a double leg sweep, but Blizzo trinkets. Diffuse Magic exchange for the Glidier's Maledict. Looney's been crowd controlled for an extended period of time. This could be devastating. Blizzo has to trade out Touch of Karma. Wildcard Gaming had such a huge lead, but it's now starting to slip away.
Raikou's still under fire by Blizzo. Zeepai trying to reconnect, but he's getting caught into some polymorphs. Blizzo, Zeepai all over Raikou in the situation. And keep in mind, he does not have another ice block. Touch of Death rolling. Chaz has to respond with the Iron Bark. There's just no way he can get away with it. But it looks like he might be able to. Zeepai and Blizzo really just not putting out that much damage with that Touch of Death. Zeepai's been really focused on keeping Chaz in combat. You can't really blame him. Chaz is almost completely tapped at this point in the game. The Ghoul is on Chaz, so Zeepai can't afford to just run over Raikou at this point. What is he going to be able to do?
All right, let's see. How much longer can he keep it up? Iron Bark available, but not very much mana. Looney gets counterspelled, and these counterspells were clutch from Raikou to find victory on Ashermane's fall. Raikou would definitely be the X factor to find a kill for Method Black here, but even if they manage to win this game, Ben, Ashermane's is out of the pool, Tolvaron is out of the pool. We go to Mugambala, but even though it's bigger than Tolvaron, there's not as much open field, and that's what Method Black really needs to find victory when facing the composition pool that Wildcard Gaming have at their disposal. And I mean, they could even switch to a Wizard comp if they needed to, should they feel it necessary. This is looking solid for Wildcard. Chaz, he's trying to drink. Is he gonna get it? Looney, how much did he get? It's at least an even game here moving into dampening, but Chaz is going to have to try and find another opportunity. Will he find it, though? Chaz is getting just destroyed by Blizzo and Zeepai. We saw an aggressive Icebound Fortitude. Zeepai really wants to dig in and end this.
Well, he knows Raikou in 45 seconds, 1 minute, Raikou's going to have both of his ice blocks available once again, and that's going to be disastrous for Wildcard Gaming. They need to try to get Raikou down before he gets a complete reset. Waz and Raikou caught into the stun. Raikou trinkets out. He's still trying to escape. Uses Temporal Shield, blinks away. Chaz into a Polymorph. Dark Simulacrum. Polymorph by Zeepai. Raikou and Chaz have to make sure they're not giving Zeepai these free crowd controls, putting them so far behind.
Raikou under huge pressure right now. Iron Bark about to fade. That's the last line of defense for another 10 seconds. 10 seconds on the clock. It's match point. Can Wildcard Gaming kill Raikou in that period of time? 6 seconds and it's slipping away faster and faster. Raikou stabilizes. It's looking likely, but he would like to wait another 16 seconds. Can he make it to it? I think he's going to be able to. Maybe not. Raikou under pressure. 10 seconds away from Cold Snap. Waz is now low. If they don't kill Raikou, Method Black could swing this back.
Yep, definitely, but Chaz's mana is still not doing well, and at 13% dampening, it's going to become so difficult for him to heal up his team. Looney not doing great on mana either. If they can prevent Looney from ever sitting down for a drink, I can see Waz and Raikou potentially taking down Zeepai or Blizzo for sure. Chaz now in stealth, looking for a drink. Can Zeepai shut him down? What is Chaz going to be able to get here? If he can get a lot of mana, this is huge. Raikou with 2 ice blocks. Chaz with potentially full mana. Method Black with a beautiful reset, turning this game in their favor.
All right, Raikou on the run. How much longer can he run, though? Facing down Wildcard Gaming. Chaz has managed to drink some mana back, and he's got 2 ice blocks again, likely needing to use one now. Trying to hold out with just the Iron Bark at 17% dampening is a risky gamble when you're on match point, but you sometimes have to take risks to find victory under these circumstances. Blizzo suddenly falling behind on defense. Waz could punch through that with Touch of Death. He's going for it. Touch of Death, they're trying to punish Zeepai actually for an aggressive Icebound Fortitude. An opening for Method Black. Looney denies it with the Electrocoon. Opts to use the Trinket as well. Zeepai stole a Polymorph, now reversing the pressure. Gunning down for Raikou's Ice Block. He needs to be careful. He's on match point. Holding out for now. Triple leg sweep. Good positioning from Raikou. That set Waz up quite effectively.
Definitely good pressure here from Method Black. And Blizzo with no trinket, no touch of karma, is very vulnerable. And Looney, I think he sat down for a drink, so regenerating some of that precious mana is going to be huge for Wildcard Gaming. 21% dampening. Raikou with no trinket. The next leg sweep could be devastating, but with both of his ice blocks, he's going to be feeling relatively healthy. Chaz with an Iron Bark trying to keep Raikou alive, trying to top him off in these moments.
Oh.
Double leg sweep coming in from Looney as they make a swap on Waz. Now he uses the touch of karma and Fortifying Brew. Now there's 2 open targets for Wildcard Gaming to potentially take down, and if they can continue the pressure on both Waz and Raikou, I don't think Chaz has the mana to heal through both that damage.
But Looney only has enough mana for one more wave of the Crane. It's going to come down to one final push between these two teams. Is Waz's defense going to be cracked? Blizzo wants to find a kill on him. Will he find enough damage to take him out? Looks like he might be able to. Chaz is totally tapped. He connects one Nourish. He's trying to fake cast some interrupts on these Nourishes. He needs them now. Waz stabilizes now. Blizzo on the back foot. 3 seconds away from being able to use Touch of Karma. 1 second away from being able to stay alive. Blizzo stays in it. Now Blizzo has an opportunity to strike back. 10 seconds away from that way of the Crane, and Looney's on crowd control DR. Waz, you gotta run. You gotta do something quick.
Yeah, definitely. Waz could be in some trouble. Cyclone there by Chaz. Actually was stolen by Zeepai once again, freezing Blizzo. Now into a leg sweep. Waz in a lot of trouble. No touch of karma for another 30 seconds. He's trying to run away. Flying Serpent Kick, gets gripped, rolls away. Blizzo still all over him. Raikou trying to get some counter pressure. Chaz trying to go for a drink, but I think Waz has been left all alone for far too long. He's trying to stay alive. He's trying to kite away, but Blizzo is looking to close it out. Rising Sun Kick to the face, and Wildcard Gaming 4-1 against Method Black. They're looking so dominant.
They are looking like they're on absolute fire. You know, they lose that 25-game winning streak, but the more important statistic is just being bolstered more and more and more, and that is victories on Championship Sunday in the Grand Final. And I think that's a stat they can definitely be happy with.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have that win streak forever. Winning 2 cups back-to-back, for sure, it's got to feel good for Wildcard Gaming. They do it again against Method Black. It's always these 2 teams going head-to-head, and it's so interesting to see how the matchup evolves and what these teams come up with. But this time around, it looked like a very shaky start in this game from Method Black, but then they were actually clawing their way back. Then Looney himself gets a little bit of a drink. Chaz forced out to drink at the end of that one. Looney constantly making sure that he is aware of where Chaz is. And then, of course, he chases him down, follows up the Paralyze and the leg sweep, and Blizzo, of course, going to be allowed to chase Waz down. And now we can take a look at the bracket. I mean, look at these guys. Wildcard Gaming 3-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, 7-2 against Method Black on the day. Incredible stuff from these guys.
I really want to ask right now, obviously, we can't perfectly predict the future, especially with the changes that we know are going to be coming very shortly here. But I do want to say, with Windwalker DK, with the Monk supporting it, is this the most meta composition at the time being? Is this what we expect a team like Method Black to potentially focus on as they're getting ready for LAN, as they're getting ready for the Final Cup?
It could be a very strong weapon. I mean, currently, all the teams that are doing very well are teams that are running the Windwalker DK. In my opinion, in the current meta, I would say DK compositions and Destro Warlock compositions are really the 2 strongest in the current meta. You can see teams like Super Frogs, they do very well at the back of those Destro Warlock compositions, and then teams like the Boys, teams like Method Orange, Method Black, just any Method team, they all do well off the back of those DK compositions. So I think if you have either of those 2 currently, you're going to be looking very strong. And now the points are also updated, so we're going to see here 200 points between Wildcard Gaming and Change My Mind, as well as 540 points to 460 points with Method Black, and of course ABC and the Pumpers. Only 4 points separating those 2 teams. Jockey Milkman and Plot Twist, they're all in this run for that last cup. That last cup in Europe is going to be a nail-biter because we don't know who the 4th spot is going to go for. It could be any one of those 4 teams.
It could even be We Were Here. If the Pumpers, ABC, Chalky Milkman, and Plot Twist all choke in 2 weekends, then We Were Here could potentially sneak in with a win. unlikely, but not impossible.
Possible, yeah. The thing that isn't possible is for Method Black and Wildcard Gaming not to make it, right? Like, they look fantastic. They already know that they are going to be competing, and we're excited to see them. But the other side of that graphic that you just saw is going to be NA, and we're going to be putting them under the microscope very shortly. We're going to get to see these teams go head-to-head. But before we do close the book on EU for the day, we want to see if any of you in EU right now want to come out to that last cup and maybe get some of these miracle runs, maybe be the person who plays spoiler for some of these teams. You can sign up right now. You got to do it now, though. Time is running out. Head over to battlefy.com/world-Warcraft-arena-world-championship, and we will see you next week. Next up, going to be North America, and it's all about the move. The move is trying to get those points to make it to LAN. It was a slow year for them. They made some tweaks. Is it going to be enough? We'll find out right after this.